What if Monkey D. Luffy had been born beneath the same flaming dawn that ushered Gol D. Roger onto the seas, their two heartbeats stamping the age of legends at once? A single twist of time would raise the ocean's pulse, gifting it a second dreamer whose laughter rattled the skies. Dawn Island would still cradle the rubber child, yet the stories he soaked up would not be polished myths. They would be fresh barroom shouts about Roger's latest miracle, still sizzling like forge iron in every sailor's mouth. Luffy would cling to those headlines, the way other boys hugged blankets. Each time a merchant sloop anchored at Windmill Village, he would trade fish for fragments of rumor, memorizing the Oro Jackson's dragon figurehead and the exact pitch of the Pirate King's laugh. Garp, only a Commodore then, would find the boy reenacting Roger's exploits with a wooden sword. He would cuff Luffy's head, bark that Marines stand taller than pirates, then hide a grin because the kid's spirit smelled like home. In this era, Shanks was scarcely older than Luffy, already Roger's cabin boy. Their first meeting would happen in Logtown's market when Luffy, 13, and freshly rubbery from a devil fruit he swiped out of a smuggler's crate, tried to steal a barrel of grog from the Oro Jackson. Shanks would catch the intruder's wrist, and the ensuing tumble would scatter oranges and sailors alike. Instead of fury, the red-haired apprentice would howl with glee. By sunset, the pair would be seated on the Oro Jackson's rail, trading punches and possible promises, while Roger watched, amused by the symmetry. When Luffy returned home, straw hat tucked beneath his shirt because Shanks claimed it suited him, Garp nearly exploded. The Commodore hauled the boy onto a marine training frigate, vowing that boot camp would batter piracy out of him. Discipline slid off the kid like seawater. He learned rokushiki footwork, only to turn it into trampoline games that left instructors clutching railings. After 3 chaotic months, Garp dumped Luffy back with Dadan, muttering that even monkeys listened better. Freedom tasted sweeter after that. At 14, Luffy stole a leaky sloop and formed a crew of misfits, a runaway cook, an accordion player who feared storms, and a sniper who saw doubles unless he squinted. They survived on optimism and the ridiculous defense of Gomu Gomu tricks. The East Blue whispered about the rubber rascal, a brat who challenged pirate flags for directions to the Grand Line. Cutlasses bent on his skin, cannonballs bounced back into barrels. Each victory fed the rumor that another D-bearing storm was building. Garp cornered Luffy near Shellstown with battleships and sea stone chains. The old man stormed the deck, fist black with armament hockey. His punch met a rubber palm, and for a heartbeat they froze, mirror images divided by years. Pride twitched in Garp's chest, dread followed. When Marines closed in, Luffy slingshot himself skyward, rebounded off a mast, and vanished into the cobalt horizon, cackling hello to adventure and goodbye to authority. By 16, he scraped through Reverse Mountain, sail shredded, heart unbroken, and collided head-on with the Oro Jackson emerging from the other side. The impact splintered rails. Crocus sprinted from the lighthouse in disbelief, 2 D-bearing captains arguing about right-of-way atop tilting decks. Roger, amused, lifted Luffy by the scruff and asked him his name. On hearing Monkey D. Luffy, he laughed so hard teals salted the wind. Rather than fight, he threw a feast. That night, Luffy inhaled tales of poneglyphs and sky islands, while Roger listened to a boy who wanted to befriend sea kings. Shanks, nursing sake, reminded his captain, he means to challenge you. Roger slapped Luffy's back and promised to meet him at the end of the world. He returned the straw hat Shanks had loaned him and told him a hat's value lies in the promise it carries. Word of their dinner reached Navy HQ. Sengoku choked on crackers. 2 incarnations of chaos were swapping recipes. Cipher Pole agents were ordered to shadow both crews. Admirals were cautioned to never let the pair converge again. Orders, however, are maps drawn on water. The Grand Line conspired to reunite them. When Roger toppled a despot in Tequila Wolf, Luffy arrived days later to host a festival with the freed workers. When Roger stole a bell from Skypiea, promising to return it, Luffy bounced up the beanstalk and rang it hard enough to shake lightning from the clouds. Newspapers printed corrections daily, unable to decide which captain had done what. Trouble bloomed at Sabody. A celestial dragon tried to purchase a mermaid named Kami. In the timeline we know, Luffy's punch changed everything. In this era, the punch landed sooner, and Roger's fist arrived beside it. 2 conquerors' coded blows shattered aristocratic teeth and the illusion of divine safety. The shockwave rattled Marie Joie. The 5 elders felt their teacups quake. Admiral Garp was dispatched, grim lines digging his brow. Between flattened mangroves, grandfather faced grandson, while Roger dueled Sengoku. Black lightning clawed the sky. Luffy refused to strike Garp. He redirected blows, cushioning fists with rubber walls, begging him to step aside. Roger sensed the stalemate and barked that family scuffles could wait. The Marines had evac ships inbound. He grabbed Luffy by the shoulders and yeeted him into a getaway coaster. The pirates vanished beneath chaos, leaving the archipelago humming with liberation. Humiliation pushed the world government toward panic. They authorized Buster Call Omega, not an island burn, but an oceanic erasure. Cypher Paul leaked coordinates suggesting Roger would hand poneglyph rubbings to Luffy at a mid-sea rendezvous. Dawn bled crimson as 30 warships surrounded the meeting point. The battle became cadet nightmare material. Atom wood crashed through steel as the Oro Jackson rammed the first line. Luffy's cobbled Sunny prototype became a slingshot. He launched himself like living ordnance, ricocheting cannonballs into masts. Vice admirals yelled that gravity had gone insane. Then the Marines unveiled a proto-pacifista, crudely seastone armed. It lanced a laser through Luffy's shoulder, and for the first time, rubber didn't rebound. Blood misted the deck. Roger, roaring a command his crew had never heard, ordered retreat. They slipped into a typhoon. In the Oro Jackson's infirmary, Crocus packed Luffy's wound with op-op leaves, while Roger watched the boy's grin shrink but not break. He asked if the dream was worth a hole in the arm. Luffy answered that broken bones heal slower than broken promises, so he would keep both intact. Roger's laugh filled the cabin, softer, sadder, proud. Time tightened. Roger's secret illness gnawed his lungs. He sped his voyage, chasing the last island. Luffy, recovering, followed, always a few footprints behind, as though fate wanted him to read every clue before forging his own. On Wano, he crossed staff with young Kaido atop an unfinished Skull Fortress. On Beehive, he stole Blackbeard's rum and left him hogtied for the Marines. Newspapers ran out of exclamation marks. Finally, rumors howled that Gol D Roger had reached an unnamed island at the world's end and laughed until tears blended with blood. By the time Luffy arrived, the Oro Jackson was departing, their eyes locked across Spindrift. Roger raised his hat and shouted a promise only wind and gulls could decipher. Months later, the Pirate King surrendered. Luffy perched on a Logtown roof as rain needled his coat. Roger's final words detonated. The treasure is real. The route is open. Seize it if you dare. The crowd exploded into history's loudest cheer. Luffy's heart detonated alongside. He didn't storm the platform. He honored Roger's stage. He slipped away through alleys, soaked and smiling, swearing his laughter would one day answer that challenge louder than thunder. Thus the great pirate era sprouted two seeds at once. Rookie captains set sail, picturing not just the crowded silhouette of Roger, but the rubber kid who bounced artillery back at battleships and shared meat with the king. The world government accelerated secret weapons. The Revolutionary Army formed earlier, its flames sparked by stories of a D-bearing boy who punched gods. New companions flocked to Luffy. Zoro, rescued from a marine prison hulk after Luffy melted cannon bars with rubber heat. Nami, saved from Arlong before he reached Kokoyashi. Sanji, fished from a wrecked training vessel after refusing Zeph's invitation. Usopp, found painting a fake giant fish on Syrup Village cliffs. Each joined not a wide-eyed rookie, but a peer of legends. Yet Luffy's heart remained the same bottomless drum. Years blurred. Blackbeard assembled darkness sooner. Big Mom fortified Totoland against twin threats. Kaido welded seastone armor to his club. Marines promoted new admirals, forging monstrosities just to keep pace. Amid that chaos, Luffy's Straw Hat pirates crashed through the Sky Islands, Fishman trenches, and blazing kingdoms, always leaving laughter where tyrants once perched. At 25, Luffy finally reached Laugh Tale, or what Roger had named it. The island recognized the Straw Hat like an heirloom. Ruins carved in ancient script waited under moss. The Merry Mirage anchored next to the Oro Jackson's empty mooring. Shanks, now a captain in his own right, stood guard to witness the promise fulfilled. Within the cavern, Luffy discovered more than treasure. He found the tale Roger had laughed at, the brutal cycle of oppression written in stone, the prophecy of a dawn carried by those who bear the initial D. Sitting cross-legged before that mural, Luffy laughed, tears exploding sideways, a sound so bright the cavern felt sunlit. He understood why Roger had needed a successor. The treasure was never coins, it was the story and the stage. Luffy vowed to write the next act louder, freer, sillier. When he emerged, Shanks offered a toast. Over clinking mugs, the red-haired captain admitted he had bet his arm on the boy's future. Now he would wager his era. The sky split as their conquerors' hockey collided playfully. Fireworks for no audience but ghosts and gulls. Twin Pirate Kings shattered Navy morale. Sengoku resigned, severe headaches. The five elders spoke the word Imu loud enough for the first time in a century. When the last Marine banner fell, Luffy stood atop the ruined tower and declared that Fear's era was over and Freedom's era begun. Somewhere beyond the smoking bay, Garp watched through tears he pretended were rain. The boy he tried to chain had become the key for everyone else. Years later, historians would argue about dates, warships, casualties, but tavern singers simplified it to one question. What happens when two suns rise at once? The answer, they'd say, is that shadows shrink, tyrants squint, and the world remembers how to dance. If you listen closely on quiet nights, you can still hear twin laughs, one deep and seasoned, one high and endless, rolling across the waves like drums summoning tomorrow. And so, Luffy didn't walk in Roger's shadow, he danced beside it, spun it into something new, and stretched it across the sky like a banner of rebellion. But what if fate had taken yet another turn? What if instead of being allies or rivals, Roger and Luffy had been enemies from the start? What if Luffy was the one trying to stop Roger from reaching Laugh Tale? Or worse, what if Luffy joined the world government instead? Well, that's maybe the subject of another video.